Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time we're going to go over Module 8 of CEH version 13 practice exam, and that has to do with sniffing. Now, this lecture is going to be a little bit loaded because there's so much information related to sniffing that is crazy. Now, if you are a security professional or if you're getting into security, or if you're a network administrator, sniffing is one of those core foundations you need to master to be successful in your career. And there are different tools that you can use for that. In this video, we're going to be focusing specifically on what you should know in reference to CEH version 13 exam. Now let's go over the spreadsheet that I have prepared to tell you about the tools that you need to keep in mind. Now, there is no way that you're going to remember everything about each specific tool, and they don't expect you to remember everything, but you need to have an idea about what the tool functionality is, the basic functionality, why you would choose one tool over another tool, and you need to know some basic syntax for your own understanding and for the exam. But before we get into it, let's just cover the basic foundation of what sniffing is, right? Sniffing is the process of intercepting and analyzing network traffic in real time. The de facto tool that everybody uses when it comes to sniffing, it doesn't mean that it's the only one or the best tool out there. It's just the best tool for one specific task, and it's up to you to decide what that task is Wireshark. You need to know how to utilize Wireshark, at least the basic functionality, how to do a capture in Wireshark. You have to know the differences between some of the filters, right? You have some capture filters and you have some other filters. So you need to know that. You need to know how to select the interfaces and how to save a capture and all that. Wireshark has its own certification test, believe it or not. Not too many people take that test because they see it as a who cares. But I took it a while back, and I gotta tell you, that's one of the best knowledge that I've got in technology, because I had to understand how protocols work and the different functionalities of each protocol and how Wireshark manages all the functionality. With that being said, this video is not about Wireshark, it's about sniffing tools for CEH. But again, so when it comes to sniffing, Wireshark is the tool that you are going to be using as one of the many tools to do that. Now, the purpose of sniffing is to gather sensitive information like credentials, sessions, tokens, or other data. Now, that is one of the purposes of sniffing. The other purpose of sniffing, especially if you're a system admin or network administrator, is for troubleshooting purposes. Oh gosh, I mean, that's crazy. Like, if you're going to be troubleshooting a network, if you're going to be managing a network, as I mentioned before, you need to know about sniffing, right? Because you're going to be able to capture all the traffic and analyze the different protocols, the different traffic protocols in there. The other thing you need to know, let me close this. I just have Wireshark up on top to show something while I'm talking. Another concept that you need to know, and this is something that I really don't like about CEH, but they ask you these questions all the time, the differences between passive sniffing and active sniffing. Now, passive sniffing monitors traffic in a network without altering any data, right? Now, back in the days, in IT, we used to use hubs, not switches. And with hubs, the traffic, it was being sent to every port on the hub, which was a hacker's paradise because you could pretty much read any information from anybody. That's something that has changed over the years, and over the past, let's say, 15 or 20 years, switches are the ones that people use in their environments, and for that, you're not going to be able to perform passive sniffing, but they still want to have that topic in the exam. So if you see anything related to you want to perform passive sniffing, what would you use? A hub or a switch? It's going to be a hub. And again, practically speaking, there are not more hubs in productions. And let me go back to it. There may be some, but it's not something that you're going to see in real networks, unless there's one specific need for that. But anyway, so just for the exam, know that. So active sniffing injects packets or manipulates network traffic to capture data, right? That's going to be one of the main differences. You also have differences when it comes to sniffing techniques. You can do MAC sniffings. You could do ARP sniffing, ARP sniffing, or ARP poisoning. I have a couple of videos for that. And you can also say that you could do DNS spoofing, and that could be considered as sniffing. So let me go over these tools, and this is what I believe you need to be ready for your exam. Number one, Wireshark. The same way that I have said previously that you're going to get a lot of questions on Nmap, you're going to get a lot of questions on Wireshark. Wireshark and Nmap are fundamental tools for the exam, and to be honest with you, for day-to-day activities, if you're a system admin or if you're a network security engineer or even an analyst. So the main functionality of Wireshark is capture and analyzes network traffic. And I'm gonna create some videos on Wireshark. I don't remember if I have that many, because it's not that you only start Wireshark and boom, you're going to start capturing traffic and seeing passwords and secret information. That's very unlikely. That's not the way it works. There's some configuration that needs to take place, and then to extract that information, you need to know what you're looking for. But anyway, so this is the basic functionality of Wiresharks, and on Wireshark, they're not going to ask you this on the exam, but you could run a command line and a USB on the GUI, but most likely you're going to be running that on the GUI, right? So it's going to be GUI related. Then you have tcpdump that is similar to Wireshark, but the main difference is that it's command line, whereas Wireshark is GUI based. And for tcpdump, yes, you do have to know tcpdump and memorize some of the syntax. And let me show you right here in the terminal. I believe that I had tcpdump here somewhere. This is Ettercap, and this is tcpdump, right? If you go into your security distro, tcpdump is installed by default, and you could pretty much use it. Just go through the help menu. To be honest with you, the functionality is similar to Wireshark, so I am a Wireshark guy. So I use Wireshark every time that I'm trying to do analysis. I rarely use tcpdump, but it's there for a reason, and they're going to be asking you questions on that. So at least know what tcpdump is. Then you have Ettercap, and I believe that I created a nice video on this, that performing ARP poisoning and man-in-the-middle attacks. And this is good to know because you are going to learn how to protect your system against ARP poisoning and man-in-the-middle attacks. But you can also perform sniffing by using Ettercap, because obviously you're going to be looking into the traffic that is happening in the network. Then you have Enable. Honestly, this is one of those tools that I haven't used in years, but for whatever reason, sometimes I wonder if the ECC console is the one supporting these tools, because I don't see too many people using Enable anymore. But it's a good tool. I mean, there are other tools that do what it does, right? So it's a good tool. And back in the days, you were able to install this onto Windows, running from Windows. DSNIFs is a suite of tools for password sniffing and man-in-the-middle. So I'm going to have videos on this. Snort, oh my God, Snort. I haven't heard about these guys in a long time. It's an IDS IPS tool that detects sniffing attempts and malicious traffic. And I also created a video, I forgot the title of the video, of how to detect if you are being monitored using Nmap, right? So Snort used to be an open source. I believe they do have like an open source thing, but they were purchased by Cisco, I believe, and now they're part of another product. Then you have Aircrack NG. This is to perform wireless network assessments and to capture traffic using wireless network. The fact that you're going to be able to capture the wireless frames does not mean by any means that you're going to be able to read anything in there, because that's going to be encrypted. So you have to crack the encryption before you read anything in that traffic capture that you got. And not even that, if that was encrypted, I mean, these web and WPA is just the encryption for the communication, but if the traffic is encrypted, you're not going to be able to see anything. You're going to see just jittering in there, right? Then we have encrypt, is a filter and displays network packets based on patterns. We have Kismet. This is another wireless network monitor that was very popular back in the days, but with WPA3, all these wireless sniffers are becoming useless. But again, a lot of these networks are, WPA, shockingly, and WPA2, you still can do some brute forcing in there. A network miner is a passive network packet analyzer focused on forensic analysis. And this is GUI based, same as Kismet. And you have some for encrypt that you don't really need to know too much. To be honest with you, what you need to get very strong for the exam when it comes to sniffing is Wireshark, tcpdump. You have to know a little bit of key enable, make sure that you know at least the basics, Ettercap, and you need to know for wireless, Aircrack and Kismet. That's what you need to know. The rest, like, it's common sense stuff. So let's go through a couple of questions and answers, and then, as we have done in the past, I have, in this case, I believe that I have 20 questions that I have prepared for you guys, and we're gonna go through the answers right here. Okay, so let's go through the first one. As you know, I always put the similar questions as the first one. What is the primary purpose of sniffing in a network? You need to know that it's to intercept traffic. It's not to break, crack anything, just intercept traffic. That's the purpose of sniffing. I'm not going to be reading each single question. I used to do that before. So you can look at this question number 2. And if you believe that you don't know the answer, ping me and I can tell you the answer. Or be alert for that 500 questions guide that I'm going to publish soon. I believe it's going to be ready in a couple of weeks, where I have 500 questions and I have commands that you need to know and memorize for the exam when it comes to Nmap and when it comes to Wireshark and all that. And also keep looking at more videos in the channel. You're going to learn a lot from there. So I'm going to jump to question number 3. Which type of network is vulnerable to passive sniffing? That's what I mentioned before. In this case, that's going to be a network that is hub-based. But remember, in reality, it's very unlikely that you're going to see a hub-based network. Very unlikely. I'm not saying that there's no hubs out there. I'm saying that it's very unlikely. I'm going to go to question number 4. What is the purpose of art poisoning in sniffing? If you look at this option, the one that makes the most sense is to redirect network traffic to the attacker's machine. So just search in my channel for an Ettercap video, and you're going to see an example of that. Now I'm going to go to question number 6. What does MAC floating achieve in a switch-based network? And that is, it overloads the switch CAM table, forcing it to broadcast traffic. This is another question that has very little practicality in real life, because most switches have preventive measures against MAC floating. So again, for the exam, you need to know this. In real life, if you go to an interview, just be honest. If they ask you questions like this, like, say, hey, listen, I'm new in the field and I want to get better. I know the question is this, but in reality, most switches are going to prevent this from happening. And if there is any network intrusion prevention solution, that's going to be shut down the minute that it sees that. So just telling you what's out there, right? Real life versus exam. There's a huge difference. Which protocol is most vulnerable to sniffing attacks due to lack of encryption? And in this case, as you could see, you have HTTPS, which is running TLS. You have SSH, which is secure. You have CeHv13, and the only option here is that is FTP. And FTP, just like Telnet, sends communication over the network in a clear text format. So that's what you would see there. So let me scroll down to maybe question 11. What is the purpose of a command like tcpdump? This is a perfect example of what I was saying before, that maybe you don't need to know all the syntax, but you need to know about the tool, right? And in that case, it's gonna monitor and capture network packets. It's gonna capture network traffic. It's not gonna encrypt. It's not gonna scan network vulnerabilities. It's not gonna secure ARP tables from tampering. That's not the function of that command. Let me go to 15 right here, right? So you could scroll down or pause the video and look at the questions and see if you have an answer. For 15, how can HTTPS protect against sniffing attacks? And that is a good thing. So by encrypting data transmitted over the network, this is what I was telling you before. You can capture encrypted data using Wireshark, but the fact that you capture the data does not mean you're going to be able to read the data, or the content of the data, I should say, because it is encrypted. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. If you are new to IT security technology, that's one of those foundational concepts, right, that you need to know, and not only know, that you need to understand. So if you have any questions about encryption and how to capture encrypted data, what to do with it, leave those questions in the comments and I'll try to help you. I just want to make sure that you are successful when you take your exam. Let me go to 17. Which wireless security protocol is the most vulnerable to sniffing? And in this case, it's going to be web. And the reason why it is vulnerable, let me be clear here, because you can pretty much capture WPA3 traffic, WPA2 traffic, and even 802.1x traffic along with web. But what makes web vulnerable is that it's easier to crack the encryption compared to the other protocol. All right, so that's why that question may be a little bit kind of deceiving. It all depends how you read it. I read it with a technical background, so I can say, you know what, you should ask this better, but it makes sense for the exam. So we have 18. What is the purpose of port mirroring in a switch? And this is also known as port spanning. In the, I believe Cisco calls it port spanning. Port mirroring is the same concept, and the options to secure network traffic, replicate traffic for analysis, and that's going to be it. Replicate traffic. So in port mirroring or port spanning, and I have a video of this that I use on Meraki. So what happens is that whatever traffic, let's say that you are at this computer, you are a computer right here, right? And you're connected to this port. This is the computer. I'm sorry, trying to draw with the touchpad. The computer connects to this port, and there's another computer connected to this port, and they are communicating, right? So between one and the other, they communicate. So what you could do with port mirroring is that whatever traffic comes here, you could send it to another port where you have your computer with a software performing sniffing. And then you're going to be able to capture the traffic. The fact that you capture the traffic does not mean that you're going to be able to read the traffic. And not only that, in order for you to successfully perform port mirroring, you need to have physical access to the switch. And let's go to the last question. Which of the following is an effective countermeasure? And this is a key word. This is a key concept, I should say. When it comes to sniffing, you need to know the tools for sniffing. You need to know the basic functionality of the tools, and you also need to know the countermeasures against sniffing attacks. So which of the following is an effective countermeasure against sniffing attacks? And that is using an encrypted protocol. You're right. Enforcing HTTPS and SSH. Of course, that is if you're using that traffic, and that's the only question, the only options, I should say, that makes sense. Remember, countermeasures for against sniffing is to encrypt the traffic that is flowing through the network, and that's something that everybody should be doing, whether there's sniffing involved or not. So again, thanks for watching. This is a loaded loaded module. Make sure that you at least know the basic functionalities of all these tools, and that you make an effort into learning more about Wireshark, Ettercap, tcpdump, Kismet, Aircrack NG. And lastly, if you found this information useful, all I ask you to do is to click on the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and let me know in the comments sections if this material is helping you, so I know how to either customize it or improve it or make some changes. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next video.